to Wargaming World and to a game of the men who would be kings. So, in this game, we have a massed Zulu force ready to attack a thin red line, but the British, who are holding the line, have some severe problems. The main problem for the British, supported by the Natal native contingent, is that they're beginning to run out of ammunition. The ammunition is held here in a wagon. It can only get this far, and therefore they need to be supplied constantly throughout the game. And so, as the Zulus are still some way off, the British can start with a reasonable amount of ammunition. We will roll for that, but then we need to watch a process of how they are resupplied before being overwhelmed. Another slight problem in that the Zulus are also armed, so they have a small unit up here firing at long distance with some old rifles down onto the British in this line and giving some harassing fire. So in the game itself, the Zulus will have 7 units in total and the British 4. I'm going to make some slight amendments to some of the ways I've played the game previously. One in which is when I'm rolling for how many units the forces can use. For the British, I'm going to ignore the 5 and 6, so the maximum use of units for the British will be 4, and for the Zulus the maximum is 6, so there'll always be 1 unit which can't be used, but I'll explain that in a little bit more detail as we go. So the first thing we need to do is to have a look at the forces and the leaders, so let's start with the British. So we've taken a look at the British, now let's have a look at the Zulu forces. For the British we have 3 elite units. So the dice are indicating that it's 6 points for the unit. The additional 1 is that they're also elite, which means that they have good discipline. So we've got 3 units here, and there's the 3rd. And finally, we also have our Natal native contingent. They are 3 points, so the total force is 24 points. In terms of numbers, we have a slightly larger Natal native contingent force. So we've got 24 men in total. The British, however, are slightly depleted, so we only have 8 for the units, and then we've also got our leader. Taking a look at the Zulus, we've got 6 units, all of which are 3 points, which takes us to 18, and then we have a very small unit up here as well. That's a further 3 points for the skirmishers. Down here we have an additional 1 point for the front rank force, so they're all fierce fighters, so that takes us up to 24 points. In terms of the unit size, we have 16 for each of these 4 Zulu units, and then further down here we have slightly smaller units at 12 men each. Each unit also has a leader. First thing we're going to do is have a look at the amount of ammunition each unit has. So let's just look at the Zulus first of all. The Zulus have 6. The unit down here, just the 1. It's going to be an obvious problem. This unit, 6. And the unit which is just returning from the wagon, 4. So we can see straight away that the unit furthest away from the wagon has a problem. So the roll we're going to do is that each unit can have an individual break away from the section. They'll have to roll. It's going to be a command to move, but they will be allowed to move at the double. So that's their normal move of 6 plus 1d6. They'll then move along to the wagon over here, and it will be another command in order for them to be rearmed. Now we'll roll 1d6 for how much ammunition they get, and then they'll move back to their original unit. Now the unit of course can move closer to them if they wish, The whole point of the game is to hold this line, because you'll see that behind the British is the river, so there isn't really a retreating point, and in order to get off the board they could move down either of the two roads. However, that retreat isn't going to win them the game. So there is an exit point if they want to avoid being completely wiped out. However, the objective for the British in this case is to hold the Zulus. I've had a look at the forces and the units. Next thing to check is our leaders. Right, so apologies for the volume of dice rolling that takes place now, but just to explain for those people who haven't played beforehand, is that each leader will have a level, so we roll one dice to see what level they are as a leader, and then secondly we roll two dice. The two dice will look for their trait. So there's two tables that we look at. So when I roll for the trait, the green dice will always be the first roll, and the black or blue dice will always be the second roll. This will be self-evident once I begin to explain, once we get some results, but this is the process we go through. Okay, so we start with the Natal Native Contingent leader and their trait. First British leader, and the traits. Second British leader and their trait. Final British leader and his trait. First Zulu leader, their trait. Again, green is the first of the trait. Second Zulu. Third. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. And finally, there we have it, the final details for the leaders. Let's put that together and get ready for the first turn. Right, the British have been quite fortunate in terms of their leaders. So we have this leader for the Natal Native Contingent who is destined for greatness. This means that he'll get an extra order in addition to the free order for his units, and his leadership is 5. Second leader has a leadership of 6. He's a steady leader. Now, he did originally have 5, but the steady leader is for 6 for leadership, but still a good man. Now, our next leader has a leadership of 5, but isn't 1 for melee, so in terms of any hand-to-hand fighting, looks to avoid it. And finally, we have another leader on 5, just a touch unlucky. So if we have leadership casualties, it might well be that it's him on a 2 or a 3. Okay, just to keep track, we just need to remember that this is our first Zulu unit with a leader, and then we have 6 other units. When I refer to the other 6 units, this is how they come out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. Well, we have a very mixed bag for the Zulu leaders. Our rifleman has a leadership of 9. He has really he's an unremarkable fellow, so unfortunately 9 is his leadership number. Then moving across, we have a much better leader. So for the first unit, which is indicated in the green dice, we've got a leadership of 5, and although we suggested he's a terrible planner and won't have any ammunition, the reality is he's no rifles either, so that really isn't impacting him at all. So our next leader is inspirational. So we are getting some good support in terms of having a reroll when we need to have a rally, and he has a leadership of 7. However, the next leader, also with 7, leading the 3rd unit, he isn't going to be much good when it comes to fighting. So we might well see him disappear. He's a bag of nerves, and might well be disappearing at the first point of impact. Our next leader, and possibly our best one, is a commander of the 4th Zulu unit. His leadership is 5, and he also adds a couple of dice in melee, but unfortunately our worst is most definitely the leader of the 5th unit. His leadership is 10, and well, the less said the better. And finally, we have our final leader on the 6th unit, and again he'll have no ammunition, but with a leadership of 6 should be good for the fight. Right, it's the first phase, best part of the game, I think. So let's see how many of the Zulu units can actually be activated in this phase. So 5. So for the Zulus, the movement is a free move, so we don't need to do any tests. So all 3 of the front units have advanced 8 inches, and then the one in the middle here has wheeled. It's going to move upon the right hand side, and then the only other move we've made is these units with, or this unit I should say, with obsolete weapons has moved within 18 inches, so that it's within range of firing next turn. Our roll is to see whether the Zulus get an extra phase. So if I roll here and I get a 6, it's the Zulus again within the first turn. And it's not, so we pass over to the British. And again, how many British phases, or how many units can operate? And we have 2. So we're going to do 2 move orders. From this one, straight away, this unit only has 1, can only fire once, I should say, and therefore we're going to release 1 of the men to get to the wagon as soon as possible. We need to pass an order to do that. Secondly, we're going to move up to the front with this unit as well. So with this unit, our leader has a leadership of 6. They're also an elite unit, so in terms of discipline, they get a +2 on the roll, so we need 4s. And we achieve that. Okay, so our soldier begins to go at the double towards the wagon, so it's 6 plus 1d6. Not the greatest, 7 inches. So off he goes, and he's going to be approaching this unit here, which needs to pass a test. Its discipline is 5. Again, it's elite, so we only need 3 here for this unit to move. And that's fine. You advance away from the wagon itself, and yeah, we'll just see whether the British get another go in this particular turn. We don't get a 6 for the British, so therefore it's the end of the first turn, and over to turn 2. So how many units can operate for the Zulus? 5 once more. Okay, so Zulu phase complete. We've had the 3 units move forward at the front, and the 2 units behind there, so we'll begin to get more units here on the right flank for the Zulus. That's whether they get another phase. No, they don't. British, and see how active they can be. Not very much at all. Just 1 unit to move. So we've only got 1 order now. Although it's important that the individual gets some additional ammunition, I think it's more important that this unit goes to move to the British left flank. So this is the only unit we're going to move, and we just need to do a test to see if it will move. 1. That's fine. It moves 6 inches. We just need to test whether the British get an additional phase. Well, they needed 1, but unfortunately not. Assessment of the table at the end of the second turn, we can see that the Zulus are fully formed and are advancing across to the British, who seem rather sluggish, and at the moment we haven't had a great deal of activity from the British, haven't really formed up, so we'll see what happens in turn 3. Right, so how many Zulu units this time can operate? Now this time it's different, just the 1. Okay, so with that command, all we've done is to move this unit further up here on the right hand side. Get another phase. No, they don't. Now, how many units for the British to operate? So we ignore 5s and 6s because the British have only got 4 units. So 3. Realise that the British actually have 5 active units now with the individual running, but we got a 6 before, so that's why we re-rolled. So we have 3 units. So the first activation will be to move this unit into close order. The unit in front will do the same, and the third will be the moving unit and will be moved into a position between the 2 units in close order. But I'll have to test for all. This unit here, leader is 6, but we are elite, therefore they need 4s. And yes, they can go into close order. They've now formed up, and we need to see about the front unit here. This time, same. It's an elite unit. It's a 3 because the leader's on 5. Double 1. Fine again. This unit's to move into the gap in between. That's fine again. The units are now in position, but not in close order. Have another phase. Yes, they do. So now we need to see how many units can operate. We ignore the 6, so I need to roll that again. Oh dear. Just the 1. The 1, I think, in keeping with the game, this individual has been ordered to move to get at the double to get to the wagon. So let's test whether he does. Now, left on his own device, or to his own devices, you would say that that would be a leaderless unit, which is an 8. He's an elite, which is a 6. So just to show that he follows the orders requested, I'm going to test that he needs to get a 6 to continue trying to get the ammunition. No, he doesn't, so he stays where he is, obviously getting a little bit scared at the task, or whatever the issue is, but yeah, we don't go anywhere further for that. We need to test whether the British get another phase. No, they don't. So turn 4, and how many units can operate for the Zulus? 6. The Zulus have had all the orders of 5s and 6s, so they've made a really great advance. So we've had all 5 of these units move forward. There is another one in reserve. They're just outside charge range of the British, but I'm also going to try firing with this unit up at the top here. Now we need to roll to see whether they will actually fire down on this unit, and it's with obsolete weapons, so they're at long range, needing 6s, but we need to see whether we can do it in the first place, so we need to get 9 for leadership. Are they able to fire? No, they're not. So do the Zulus get another phase, which would be critical? No, they don't. Phase, so how many units can operate? Again, we missed the 6. We can go up to 5 with the British, and 5 it is. All 5 units can operate, so let's start to see whether this individual is going to pass a test. We need 6 to see if we can continue going forward to get the ammunition. 6 required. And yes, we've got 1d6. 11 inches accomplished. With that 11 inches, he manages to get to the wagon. So let's see how long it takes to get some decent ammunition and how much. So we've got 4 orders. The first is going to be this unit's going to fire volley fire at the closest Zulu unit. The second is that we're going to get this unit to get into close order. Third, we're going to fire volley fire again with this unit here at its closest Zulu force. And then we're going to move this unit, and that's a free move for the Natal Native contingent. And because we've got an inspirational leader, we can then have a second order. So it may well, depending on how other things go into an attack of that Zulu. Now let's just check that this unit will follow the command to go into close order. Yes, it will. Volley fire with this unit. It's firing here at the Zulus. It needs a 4 to hit. We've got 8 dice. Remember, this is the only ammunition it has, so we've got to get a good roll. So, needing 4s. Okay, so that's 5 killed from the Zulus, and they're also going to be pinned. This unit needing 4s. We have 9 dice with this one. Equally effective. 5 casualties. I realised I hadn't tested on the other unit whether it had been the leader that had been one of the casualties. And it hadn't. Let's just check its Similar situation with this one? No, it's not. 5 casualties, we need to do a pinning test. It's got a leadership of 5, but we've taken 5 casualties. So effectively, to avoid being pinned, we need a 10, 11 or 12. And that's exactly what we've got. This unit, the leadership is 7, so again we need, we'll actually need 12s this time to avoid being pinned. And no, we failed that, so it is pinned. The traits is that the leader is a bag of nerves. So if the unit is now pinned, so we need to roll with a d6. If we get a 3, 4, 5 or 6, the leader deserts and that unit becomes a leaderless unit. No, it doesn't. To keep track as well, I've also marked the amount of ammunition each unit has. So this one has 5, that one hasn't fired, it has 4. This unit is now out of ammunition. We have an inspirational leader here, so the Natal native contingent have moved 8 inches into position, and they're now going to attack. We need to have a roll, and we need to get 5 for that attack to happen. But no, it doesn't. So we just need to check whether the British get another phase. Yes, they do. Any units can be activated. Just the one. Again, in the spirit of the game, if we've got 1 as our extra turn, I'm going to see, or I'm going to use it rather, with this individual. Now, we're going to say that he manages to get ammunition, so this is going to be the turn effectively, but we need to roll for how much. The amount of rounds he's going to carry back for the unit. 2. Yeah, let's just see if the British get another repeat phase. No, they don't, so that's the end of the turn, and we're on to turn 5. Turn 5, we need to see how many units can be activated, and the first one we must do is that we have to see if we can rally the unit that's pinned. So let's see how we go. 6, okay, that's a good roll for the Zulus. Another great roll for the Zulus. I think it's all been 5s and 6s for the units. We have the unit here, we need to rally. The leadership is 7, we've got 1 pin marker, so we need to get 8 or higher for it to rally. No, it doesn't, which means it'll retreat 4 inches. So with 5 additional activations, our plan is to move up the reserve and then to use all 3 of these units. The front one attacking the British here. We're just going to see if we can harass the British with the rifles up above. So we need to take a test to see if they can fire, and then we'll do all the other actions. So for rifles on the hill we need a 9, whether they will fire at all. No, they won't. For the front unit we need to see whether they will attack, whether they will move at the double, and so there we need a 5. And they certainly will. Move 8 inches, plus 4 into contact. Now the Zulus have reached the British. British have 8 men. They are rolling on a 5 to kill. The Zulus, however, this unit are fierce fighters, and so it's a 4. So we've got 8 British and it's 11 Zulus. Start with the British, needing 5s. Rather meagre 2 casualties. Zulus needing 4s. Much more effective at 5 casualties. It was the Zulu leader. No, it wasn't. The British leader. No, it wasn't. Test if the British are pinned. So the leadership is 6. Discipline takes it down to 4. 5 casualties is 9. And so the British are pinned and need to fall back 3 inches. Test now is to see whether the Zulus get another phase. No, they don't, so we pass to the British. How many British units can be activated? Just the 1, and that test is going to be the unit to try and rally. So this time the leadership is 6, down to 4 with the discipline plus 1 because it's got a pin marker, so we need 5s. And they pass that, so they do rally, but that's the end of the British phase. For a repeat phase. No, we don't, so that's the end of turn 5. Start of turn 6, let's see how many Zulu units can be activated. Let's remember that if it's a 1, then we need to do the rally test for the Zulus who are pinned, much like we just did at the end with the British. But it isn't, it's 3 units. Again, we're going to test this unit to see whether we can rally. We've got a pin marker and the leadership is 7, so we need 8 or more. And they do, they rally. 2 other activations, so we've got 2 Zulu units here, and they can both reach a target, so let's see whether they can pass the test to attack. 5s. Yes, they do. Need a 5 to attack that unit, and they will. So we need to look at this. The British are operating with 3 men, and the Zulus are attacking with 9. British needing 5s. No effect at all. Needing 4s. And that's a wipeout. Over here the British have 9 men, needing 5s. 4 casualties. Let's just test whether one of them is going to be the leader. No, it isn't, so that's 4 casualties. These aren't fierce fighters, but there are 17 of them, so they need 5s. Just 1 better than the British with 5 casualties. He can be unlucky, so one of his traits is that if we roll a 3 as well as a 2, it's going to be him as a casualty, but no it isn't, so that's just 5 casualties to 4. British pinned. 4, yes they are. Do the Zulus get another phase? No, they don't. So the British are pushed back to the banks of the river. This is turning into a disaster for the British, but it is their phase. Units are activated. 2. We need to rally this unit, and that's successful. The other order is going to be this unit, the last solid unit of the British regulars. They can fire volley fire. I just say it's 180 degrees, so therefore they can fire at this unit. So we're going to fire volley fire with 9 men. Okay. Needing 4s. That's pretty effective, so that's 5 casualties. One of them the leader. Zulu's pinned. Yes, they are. Do the British get a repeat phase? No, they don't. So it's the end of turn 6, and it's getting perilous for the British. Got a very reduced unit here, and we've just got 1 full one trying to hold back the Zulus. We do have the Natal native contingent. You can see whether they can come across and engage, but the Zulus are still looking ominous. We've got 3 units advancing here, as well as a very active units just further across. See whether it can sweep round and engage with the British here. What can we get, and how can the British survive with turn 7? How many Zulu units are active? There seems to be a mandatory 5 or 6, so 5 units. Start by seeing if we can rally this unit. Its leadership is 5. Got 1 pin marker, so need 6. And they do rally. See if this unit here will attack that one. We need to pass a leadership test. No problem at all there. We had 5 activations, so I've moved up the reserve here. Also moved up these 2 units. We've already rallied that unit, and this has moved into combat, so let's see how we go. We've got 9 fierce fighters versus 4 British, so the Zulus need 4s, British 5. Start with the Zulus, and that's the unit wiped out. The Zulu casualties we have, it's just the one. See whether it was the leader. No, it wasn't. Finally, is it a repeat Zulu phase? No, it isn't. 3 British units left, so let's see if we have 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2 is going to be a 1, 3, 4, etc., etc. We get the idea. So we're just going to have one unit activated. The single order being the unit here. Again, a repeat volley fire at that nearest target. They've got 4 rounds of ammunition left. 4's required. And that looks like 3 casualties. Leader. No, it isn't. And a leadership of 5. And we need 8. It's just failed, so it is pinned. British have a repeat phase. No, they don't. The end of turn 7. And things look pretty grim, really, for the British. But let's see how we go on for turn 8. How many Zulus are activated? 3 units. Seeing if we can rally that unit. So leader is 5 and we're pinned, so we need 6 or higher. No, so they'll have to retreat. Let's see if this unit can go at the double and attack the British here. That's a 5, that's a fail. And let's see if this unit can attack. It's a leadership of 5. They attack the British here. Yes, they can. So this is going to be our, well, it could be the final action. British have got 8 men because, as a trait, the leader doesn't fight in melee. The Zulus, they've got 9, so it's 8 against 8 in terms of regulars, but the leader will fight as well. The Zulus are fierce fighters, so they roll for a 4, British regulars for a 5. British 8 dice, needing 5s. And that's just 2 casualties. Zulu leader, let's just check that. No, it isn't. 9, needing 4s. And that's 3 casualties. Include the British leader. No, it doesn't. British discipline. Leader is 5. We've got an elite force. It's down to 3 casualties. We need 6. But they fail. So they are pinned and pushed back 3 inches. So the British retreat and getting back to a last point, unless we can get something from the Natal native contingent. Zulus have another phase. No, they don't. British phase. How many units can be operated? So it's going to be a 3. If you remember, we've only now got 3 units. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6. So 5, 6, we've got 3. All 3 units are going to operate. Can we rally the unit that's just been fighting? Yes, we can. Secondly, the individual who was with the wagon has moved and joined this unit. It's added ammunition, although I'm not altogether too sure it's going to help them moving forward, but he's added this unit. Remember, with the Natal native contingent, they can have 1 their free move, but then also we've got an inspirational leader, so we can have an additional action. So we're going to see whether we can attack these Zulus. 5s. Yes, we can. The Zulus have 7 dice, needing 4s as fierce fighters. However, the Natal native contingent have 25 in total, needing 5s. Let's start with the Zulus, needing 4s. It's a good roll, and we have 5 casualties. No, it's not. Nice for the Natal native contingent, needing 5. And that looks like 2 casualties. So we've got 2 so far. 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it the leader? No, it isn't. So we're just left with the leader. So let's see whether he's pinned. Okay, I'm just going to say that he breaks from there. So we've got, so we took 6 casualties, and yeah, we're down to. British have a repeat phase. No, they don't. Let's see how many activations the Zulus have. 5. This unit first of all. Yes, they're rallied. Right, so I need to test the leader here, and we need a 7 to see if that unit will attack here. No, it won't. It's the end of the Zulu phase, although we'll roll and see if they get an extra one, and we can see that we've got 2 Zulu units now on the left flank, and 3 units, although 1 is very depleted. Here at the centre, we've just got the Natal native contingent and the British waiting. So let's see if we get another Zulu phase, and then we'll turn to the British phase. And no, we don't. So we turn to the British. So 1, 2, 3. We only have one operating, and that's right, just the one. Have the Natal native contingent attack this unit in front of them. Neither of them are fierce fighters, so it will be 5s. But we need to test whether they will attack. Yes, they will. Okay, so the Zulus have 17 needing 5s. And the Natal native contingent have 20. Groups of 10. Natal native contingent needing 5s first of all. So it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. 4, 5, 6. 6 in total. 17 Zulus here needing 5s. So 1 makes a difference there, so 5 for the Zulus. Check to see if the leader was killed from Natal. They weren't. And for the Zulus, we just need to test for the Zulus. Alright, let's see what we get with our total. Now the Zulus are pushed back. They've got to go back 3 inches. They're pinned. They're also going to go through the unit behind them, so I think we need to take a pin test for that one also. Leadership is 5. And that fails too, so I think both units are going to be pinned. So that's the result of that. Let's see if we've got a repeat phase at the end of this phase for the British. No, we don't, so that's the end of the phase. You'll be able to see as we start in turn 10 that we have 3 Zulu units on the left hand side advancing towards the British and the Natal native contingent, but we also have 2 units here that need to do a rally test. So let's see how many Zulu units can be activated. All 6. Okay, this unit has a leadership of 7 and 1 for pin, so we need to get 8 or more. No, we aren't successful. Now this unit has a leadership of 5 and 1 for its pin marker, so it requires a 6. That gets a 6, so that unit rallies. Now with this unit, I think we're going to attack the Natal native contingent, but we need to pass a leadership test, which is a leadership of 7. And yes, they will. Now this unit could attack the British, but we have a poor leader here, so we require a 10 to get there. 10 or more. And yes, they do. Before I do the melee, the final unit on the left flank has now moved up. I'm going to do these 2 melees in a moment. I did have 6 for the Zulus in terms of units, so the one that I haven't used is the skirmish unit firing from the hill. I'll leave that one out, and I'll just see if we can resolve these 2 what I suspect to be final battles. Okay, so here we have 15 for the Natal native contingent needing 5s and 12 Zulus needing 4s as fierce fighters. Start with the Zulus. That's a below average roll. 4 killed in total. And 5s required for the Natal native contingent. And that's another victory. So 6 for the Natal native contingent. Let's just have a quick check and see if the leaders are involved. The Natal officer? No, it isn't. Zulu leader? No, it's not. Again for the Natal native contingent, and the Zulus are pushed back and pinned. Yeah, we now have a number of pinned units due to the Natal native contingent who've fought heroically. Here, I think we might have something more serious in terms of defeat for the British, but let's work this out. Right, so here I have 13 Zulus needing 4s as fierce fighters, and I have 6 British needing 5s, and the leader doesn't fight due to his trait. British needing 5s, and we have no casualties. The Zulus 13 needing 4s, and with 8, that's the whole unit wiped out. And there we have it. That is a decisive Zulu victory. I'm going to call a halt on this, and I'm going to say with honour the Natal native contingent are left to withdraw do have 5 Zulu units surrounding them, but some are already pinned, and after such gallantry they are going to be able to withdraw. But yes, that's certainly a decisive Zulu victory. So, I hope you've enjoyed the game. I think it's been a good game. I think there's been some good rolls really for the Zulus. Certainly every time we were trying to work out how many units are going to be activated, I think they had a 5 or 6, so they've been able to advance relatively quickly. We've had a lot of gallantry there from the Natal native contingent, and I think it's been a good game. If you've got any thoughts, then please put some comments on the YouTube channel, and if you aren't already a subscriber to Wargaming World, then make sure you go on the channel details, click to subscribe, and I'll put out lots of other videos. You'll also be able to pick up some of the previous games I've played, and also some of the other areas that I cover in World War One, World War Two. So, just remains for me to say thanks very much for watching, appreciate your time, and look forward to having another game of The Men Who Would Be Kings very soon.